Now, Doug, I'm going to ask you to start because we're really talking about this issue during this session. That is limited government an oxymoron? So tell us about limited government and then what the ultimate limited government is in your estimation.
Well, first of all, I am not a fan of government in principle. I don't feel that the institution, as radical as this may sound, is necessary. There are two ways people can relate to each other, voluntarily or coercively. And as Mao Tse-tung pointed out, government comes out of the barrel of a gun. So I don't approve of government in principle. And I don't think that it's either salubrious or necessary in today's society. Anything that needs to be done will be done by entrepreneurs. You don't need the dead hand of the state on the market.
Yeah, but Doug, look. Here's the situation. I mean, you're talking about anarchy, and you're talking about a situation where it would seem to me without government, then it would be whichever private person or private group had the biggest set of private guns, and they could run over anybody else and get what they wanted. Why don't we need government to get in the way of something like that?
Well, the situation you just described is exactly what we have with government. The government's got the guns, and it's controlling everybody else.
Okay, Tom, now you've heard this, shall we say, off-the-wall stuff. Where are you on limited government or anarchy?
Well, Dennis, for years I was one of these people. We got to return to what the Founding Fathers thought. We got to get back to the 10th Amendment. We got to return to the Constitution. And, as the years go on and you see that you observe this government and how utterly removed it is from the government we were intended to have, after a while you start wondering, look at all these think tanks sending out direct mail fundraising appeals. We've got to cut wasteful government spending, and nothing ever happens, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. You wonder, maybe I am chasing a unicorn here. Maybe there is no such thing. Maybe if you say, this institution has a monopoly on the power to tax and a monopoly on the power to initiate violence, but it will simply restrain itself to a few itemized tasks. I mean, it seems to me unrealistic. Moreover, I think there's a moral question here. If we're going to believe that there are certain moral principles everybody has to observe, why are those moral principles abandoned when we apply them to government? So, for example, you and I can't steal. The government can steal and call it taxation. You and I can't kidnap people. The government can kidnap people and call it military conscription. And it just goes on and on and on. If we believe in absolute standards of morality, the government always fails. So I fall not on the bomb-throwing side of left-wing silliness on this issue, but I follow Murray Rothbard, and anybody who is intrigued by this or thinks, heavens, wow, a forbidden thought, heaven forbid we can't have this on the airwaves, I would recommend going to Google and reading an essay by Rothbard called Anatomy of the State. You'll never look at the world the same way again.
The essence of government is force and coercion. And as Tacitus said in the 2nd century, the more numerous the laws, the more corrupt the society. And this is, of course, why the United States has become more corrupt over the years, as we have so many laws which allow officials in power to dispense favors arbitrarily as they will and collect bribes for dispensing these favors and so forth. No, the institution of government itself is corrupt and corrupting and unnecessary in an advanced society. In fact, in primitive days, it might have been possible, it was never moral, never ethical, but it might have been possible for the king in a primitive society to say, well, you take that ox cart and you charge so much for your wheat and so forth, because it was simple, and perhaps a simple society could be directed. But today, with billions of transactions every day by billions of people, it's not only immoral, but it's technically impossible for the government to try to direct these things. As an anarchist, I believe in an orderly society, but society self-orders itself. When you go into a restaurant, or for that matter, into a Walmart, you don't need the government. The government provides no useful purpose in those places. The owner of the restaurant maintains order there. The manager of the Walmart maintains order there. You don't need the state in those instances, and I can't think of any places where you actually need the state. What we're dealing with when we're dealing with politics is a dramatization of people's psychological aberrations. And unfortunately, the kind of people that go into government are the kind of people that have the most aberrated psychologies. They're the kind of people that actually think they have a right to control what other people do and have and think.